Hello. So this is gonna be a Sugarcraft game. So this game's coming in hot. I think it was everybody starts with a frying pan was the portal, and I took Sugarcraft emblem on my 2-1 augment just because it looked like a decent spot for it based on my items and the units that I had. I also wanted to try it out. So Sugarcraft just got buffed. I'm sure people are thinking to themselves, okay, is Sugarcraft worth playing? Should I be trying out to play Sugarcraft? Like, what should I do here? I want to try it out because it just got buffed and I wanted to see relative to the rest of the lobby, how does it feel? Does it feel that much better? Is the 50 HP really crazy? Are the Gwen buffs enough to make her broken with 6 Sugarcraft? Who knows? I don't know for sure, so I want to try it out, and that's what I'm doing this game. So, you know, use me as the guinea pig, and you can figure out if you want to try it out for yourself. Now, obviously, this is going to be a pretty high roll game. I'm basically going to have this extra frying pan that I can use for either a preserver emblem, or I can use it to make a second Sugarcraft emblem. 2 Sugarcraft emblems is very, very, very strong for Sugarcraft boards because you don't have to play the useless Soraka. Soraka doesn't really do much for your board late game with Sugarcraft unless you're playing around the Soraka. So as you can see, I instantly use my Reforger to make a spatula because I'm going to use that spatula to make a Sugarcraft emblem. I just need a sword now, and then I'll be plus 2 Sugarcraft. It also helps you to stack a lot earlier with 2 Sugarcraft emblems because you don't have to rely on finding the Gwen. You can kind of delay that for a little bit. So 2 Sugarcraft emblems is usually, even though it's not like, there's no like 8 Sugarcraft or some crazy vertical trait like that. 2 Sugarcraft emblems is like the high roll variation of this. Usually when you have 2 Sugarcraft emblems, your board is a lot more stable and a lot stronger as opposed to just relying on the Sugarcraft stacks. But anyways, like I said, the game's coming in hot. If you've never played Sugarcraft before, I'll give you a little crash course on it right now. Basically, it's a scaling comp that for the amount of components that you have slammed, you will get these sugars that are on your cake. As you can see, it says 36 out of 45 on the right hand side. So basically for every component that you get, you'll get amount of sugar, and then these sugars, when you reach the numerator gets to the denominator, right, when you reach the threshold, you'll then get a cake layer. These layers give your units extra AP and AD, and also when you hit the max number of layers, which is 7 layers, then you start to cash out rewards, either in the form of a bunch of gold. There's a golden remover, there is all sorts of stuff that you can get from it. And usually if you can make it to those cash outs, that's how you win with Sugarcraft. Other than that, you're usually playing for top 4, but if you make it to the cash outs, then you're like, okay, now we're going for first, let's see how this goes. So on the team builder, we'll talk about Sugarcraft in general. So Sugarcraft, I'll just put all the Sugarcraft units right now. 1 second. So these Sugarcraft units obviously are going to be these units. There's a couple variations that you can play around it, but typically you're going to be playing, you're never really going to be playing 4 Sugarcraft. If you're playing 4 Sugarcraft, usually you're dropping Soraka, and then you're playing something along the lines of, depending on who your carry is, right? You're either going to be, a lot of times it's usually going to be something like Fiora, and then Zillion, Rakan, Tom Kench. Usually you'll play some variation of this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then eventually you're going to be able to play a Morgana late game, because the Morgana is going to give you a lot of value, and you're just playing vertical preserver with the Sugarcraft. And this is usually when you're Gwen carry, and you'll carry Gwen. This is without a Sugarcraft emblem. This board sucks, by the way. Don't ever play it. It's really fucking bad. 4 Sugarcraft isn't really a trait. You should almost never play towards it unless your spot is absolutely illegal. So a lot of times you're going to be playing a 6 Sugarcraft board. When you're playing a 6 Sugarcraft board, you have a lot of different options to play around. So typically you're going to have the Soraka in, and then let's drop the Morgana, and let's drop the Zillion for now. Let's just put in Rakan, Rumble, as these are your frontline units, right? This is what your level 8 board looks like. Now, when you have a Sugarcraft emblem, you're always going to put on Fiora, because Fiora is going to be like your main damage dealer, so she'll make a lot of good use of the extra Sugarcraft stacks that you're going to get. And this is where you're itemizing Gwen and Fiora. Now, if you don't have a spot where you're playing around Gwen, Fiora, then you could play around Olaf and Jinx. Right, there's a lot of times where you can easily hit like a 3-star Jinx, as well as a 3-star Rumble, especially if you roll at a lower level, and then you're going to be Sugarcrafting the Olaf instead of the Fiora. And then you can play like a Hunter to get the Jinx to do damage. A lot of times you're going to try and dual carry Gwen and Fiora, Gwen and Jinx, or Jinx and Olaf. It's going to be some rendition of that typically you're going to try and put like your AP items on Gwen, your AD items on Jinx, tank items on Rumble, and everything's going to be great. You can even drop the Tom Kench, and when you level up, you can play towards all of the other units. But typically, the typical board that you're going to play with 6 Sugarcraft looks like this, and then you level for Morgana. Eventually, if you can make it to 9, you play Morgana on top of this. You can also drop Rakan for Morgana on level 8, and you're just going to keep rolling on level 8. The reason you sometimes want to go 9, it's hard to say exactly when you go 9 with this comp. I find that it's better to roll on 8 because one of the cash outs for Sugarcraft is a golden duplicator. So sometimes you can scam the lobby and get a Gwen 3. Instead of investing that gold and leveling to 9, you'll be very strong at a lower level. In terms of the Sugarcraft cash outs, I'll just show them to you. So this is after 7 cake layers, you get a component, then you get the golden remover. So you'll be able to fix your items later. Just assume that you're going to make it to 8 cake layers. If you're not making it to 8 layers, you're probably not in a spot where you're going to be top 4ing very easily anyways. So make sure to slam your items early. Don't worry too much about like exactly where your items are going to fall and who's going to be holding what, because you'll be able to fix your items very late with the golden remover. So if you put like, put your best items on your Gwen, and then you can fix the items after. You also get removers throughout the game, and then at 9 layers you get this champion duplicators, and 10 layers is where you win the game. 11 layers is like an instant win, by the way. If you get to 11, you pretty much go guaranteed first. 10 layers is where you pretty much win. This masterwork upgrade is huge because it basically puts you up an entire prismatic augment relative to the lobby. So even before, when Sugarcraft wasn't very good, Masterwork upgrade is the greatest thing that you can hit here. So if you make it to 10 layers, that's what your goal is. That's usually where you win out for free. If we look at this game, I took Portable Forge here because I said I want to have a Gwen item. I actually high rolled really hard this game. So that's what I want to, that's why I really wanted to make this video using this VOD, even though the VOD got cut at the beginning, because this felt very high roll. Now this is on current patch. It is right now. This is Sugarcraft getting buffed. It's a Masters level lobby. So this is everything going for it. I'm trying my best. I've played Sugarcraft before, so I feel pretty comfortable. I also have an extra spatula. So when you have the extra spatula, remember when I was showing you the board? You basically drop Soraka and you can play an extra preserver, or you can play Olaf. You basically get to play an extra unit instead of having to play Soraka, which doesn't really do much for your board in terms of damage or anything really. But anyways, so this is my mid to early game board. I have 3 Gwen items. Morello isn't the greatest item on Gwen, but it's good enough. It gives AP, gives attack speed, whatever. It's a utility item. And like I said, you want to slam your items as much as possible. When you're playing Sugarcraft, you should never try to greed, right? I want to make that very clear. Do not greed. The reason you don't greed is because, how do I phrase it? You need to make it to the cash outs. And at one point, you're going to be sacrificing a lot of HP trying to make these cash outs, right? You can't expect to turn around and win late game. You have to make sure that you're strong as early as possible to give yourself the most amount of time in the game to get the cash outs. You don't want to drop down to 10 HP really early and then not have your cash outs, fight a high roller, and lose the game instantly. It's very difficult. So you want to try and make your items as early as possible. You want to put as many items on as many units as possible, and you want to try and play towards being strong as early as possible. Now here on Carousel, I really want a sword. The Gwen got taken instantly. One of the big problems with Sugarcraft is how much people like to play warriors. Even if they're not playing vertical warriors, I feel like Gwen and Fiora are almost always taken. They're almost always contested. They're almost always bought. It is miserable. Everybody and their mother buys a Gwen nowadays. I don't know why. I know she just got buffed, but it's even on the most ridiculous boards, I'll just see people holding Gwens and Fioras. It's the same with Varus. A lot of people, but usually if you're holding Varus, it's because you're trying to play Varus. I just find that it's very contested. Now, I'm in a spot where I have a lot of gold. I'm in a good econ, right? I have good econ this game. My units aren't necessarily the best, but I have this early Gwen, which is really great. I'm setting myself up for a level 8 roll down. I don't have Jinx items. If I had Jinx items, I would set myself up more towards having Jinx as my primary carry. All my items are AP, so I'm going to try and play towards Gwen. Because I'm playing towards Gwen, that means I want to roll on level 8 because I want to get Warrior in and fit in the whole Preserver line to make this Gwen as strong as possible. You'll notice with the Ornn artifact, I also took Zhonya's. Zhonya's is the best on frontline AP units, right? If you have an AP melee unit, Zhonya's is always going to be good. So Zhonya's is one of Gwen's best items by far. It's basically like a better Edge of Night, right? If you think about melee units, Gwen dashes around, she takes aggro. Zhonya's gives her armor, MR, a bunch of AP, and also gives her a second reset life. And she has some built-in Omnivamp because of Warrior. So I would suggest eventually making Omnivamp on her. I want to remove the Morello and maybe give her something like a Gunblade, for example. And I put blue buff on her because Gwen scales with her casting, so making her casting easier makes so she gets into like this insane spot a lot earlier. I finally hit 6 sugar because I found a bard, so instantly put in 6 sugar. You want to get as much cash outs as possible. The higher your Sugarcraft, the better your spot is. You want to be 4 Sugarcraft for most of stage 3, and then if you can high roll and be 6 Sugarcraft as early as possible, it gives you more sugar for your cake, so you'll reach those cash outs a lot earlier. Of course, items work really well with Sugarcraft. If you have an item augment, that synergizes really well. There was one time that I had, it was a very, very old video. I don't know if it's still relevant, but it was on my channel, where I took Sugarcraft and I took, what's it called, Buried Treasures, Prismatic, and I had so many extra items, so I was in a very, very good spot. We lose the round here, that's fine. We're kind of middle of the pack HP, that's also fine. We're not necessarily greeding for any particular items here. We would like a Shred item at one point because it will help the Gwen damage by a lot, but we're okay. We feel fine. We're 5 out of 7 cake layers. We're gonna be very soon 6 out of 7 cake layers, and then we're already starting our cash outs, so we'll be in a good spot. Here I'm just removing instantly because just in case I hit a better Gwen item off of these wolves, then I'll put the better Gwen item on Gwen, and I'll put the Morello on somebody like Bard, for example. We really want a sword as well. Sword makes it so I don't have to play the Soraka. And as you can see, I don't really hit anything. I hit Nashers. Nashers is fine on Gwen. It's not the greatest item, but it gives her a bunch of attack speed, so it's pretty good. So I'm down to just take Nashers. So I'm going to put Morello on Bard, and I'll put Nashers on Gwen, so she can do a little bit more damage. Attack speed is always good on melee units, by the way. It just helps them to sustain themselves, because if they're attacking more, they're doing more damage. And if they're doing more damage, then they're gaining more HP because of their Omnivamp that's built in. Or built into the Warrior trait, at least here. I didn't get a sword yet. I'm debating if I reforge this cloak or not. I actually like to have cloak here because cloak is a component that can make spark, and I really want to have shred. Shred is good utility, especially since I have a Gwen. Spark is actually a really good item on Gwen as well, because as she dashes around, she hits different units. She'll then shred them and make it so she's doing as much damage as she could. As you can see there, Zhonya's proc. She's fine. It's all good. Whew. This is a stressful video because I started kind of like the part of the video where I usually meander and talk about the comp. I kind of have to condense it all because my VOD got cut off at the beginning. But hopefully it's not too fast paced, and hopefully it's making some sort of sense to the people that are watching it. But we're just gearing up for a level 7 roll down here. Magic Wand is okay. It's actually not that good in hindsight. I'm not sure what the best thing is here that I want to hit. Yeah, I just take Magic Wand because I think Blacksmith's Glove is pretty good, but it's more so if you hit a Morgana. Because I'm going to have a lot of items from the cash out, so I'm not going to put those. Usually you take Capricious Forge because you're going to itemize somebody else. The problem is that I can't use Capricious Forge to itemize my Fiora or my eventual Morgana, because I'm trying to play towards having 2 Sugarcraft emblems. So they won't, like, you know, I either have to choose between Sugarcraft embleming somebody or what's it called, Capricious Forging somebody. So that's why I didn't want to take it. The Spark AP is kind of useless. The third augment isn't that great for me here, because I already get a bunch of AP because of the Sugarcraft trait. So it's a bit of diminishing returns. It does, however, just give me a component and completes the Spark that I wanted to make. So I'm happy enough to have Spark here. And it could make a big difference in some of these fights. Gwen clutches up. We love Gwen that clutches like that. Perfect for us. But this spot is very high roll. I think there's parts in this game coming up that I'm going to low roll pretty aggressively, and you'll see that. But I want to point out that I had one of the earliest Gwens ever. I had 6 Sugarcraft in the mid game, and it's buff Sugarcraft. If this is not a top 4, top 1, top whatever, it's very unlikely that playing towards this is a good idea. That is all I will say about the subject matter, and it's just what I want to point out. So take it with a grain of salt, because obviously, like, stage 2 I had a Gwen. My Gwen items are illegal. I have a really good Gwen setup, right? There's a lot of good stuff going for me. I have a decent amount of items. I'm also Gwen paired. But like expected, there's a warrior player in the lobby. There's almost always going to be somebody that's playing Gwen and Fiora. So it's going to be always hard to hit the Gwen too. But just keep that in mind, right? Keep it all in mind. This guy waited to roll, by the way. So he's going for a 4-5, which is really scary for me because I spent all this time rolling looking for these units. And then all of a sudden he's going to, like, you know, after everybody gathers their other 4 costs, he's going to have a really good time rolling 50 gold trying to find his Fioras and Gwens. But we'll see how it goes. On carousel here, I have shred, I have anti-heal, so now I'm just looking for Fiora items. I also really want a sword. It's a 1-cost sword. If I can get this sword, I'll be happy. If I don't get this sword, I'll be miserable. I'm pretty sure this guy is directly griefing to get this sword. I don't know. I don't know why he took a 1-cost sword. I don't even know what he's playing. I think I looked at his board after, and he's like one of the warrior players. I don't get it, but whatever. I guess we just don't get the sword again. So this is really bad for us because we're really relying on hitting that second Sugarcraft emblem so we can get rid of this fucking Soraka. Yeah, I don't know why he needed sword, if I'm being honest, but maybe he's just Savant. He was looking for some other item. So that's my bad. But, you know, many carousels here. We still haven't hit a sword the entire game. So ideally we hit the sword eventually. I could reforge this this rod, but I think I'm just gonna wait until birds to see if we get a sword component at this point. And then we want to fit in more preservers. Ideally we can fit in Rakan and Morgana, but we're just gonna play it as is and see how it goes. This guy got the trait tracker cash out, and then he got a preserver +1, and then he hit aggressive preservation. So he's playing Callista after trait tracker with items and augments, sorry, with components that actually work really well with his board. So this guy's very scary because this Callista comp is already really fucking strong, and now he has preserver +1 and chrono for free, so he can fit in like a more complex board. And he has Emilio already. So I don't see myself beating this guy late game unless I get those max cash outs. We're almost at our 7 cash out, by the way. I think it should proc very soon. Yeah, there we go. So this is 7k clears. This is the first cash out. You get a bunch of gold and a component, which is fine. In this case, I might end up making a second spark because why not? It might be good. But we'll see. I probably won't make it right away. And I'm rolling a little bit here. The reason I'm rolling is because I want to try and hit my units. Right now, I'm Fiora paired and Gwen paired. When I was just Gwen paired, there wasn't a reason to roll that much. But because now I'm Gwen and Fiora paired, I spike really hard off hitting any of them upgraded. So I might as well just roll as deep as I can in order to hit them. I also can buy a charm every turn. Like I said, you just want to survive, right? Losing HP in these rounds is really bad because it just hurts your chances of capping out your board. I want to make it to the Sugarcraft cash out, so it doesn't really matter to me with gold and everything. If I get to the what's it called, the Masterworks upgrade, I should win just based off resources compared to everybody else. It's just such a huge spike to have +1 radiant item just on your board for free. And as you can see, the people that I was fighting were very hard, so that's why I rolled that turn in particular. I was trying to maybe win against that guy, because I don't want to accidentally lose too many fights and then run into a spot where I'm in a bad situation. There's a lot of boards that are like somewhat strong. There's a lot of boards that are somewhat weak. The board, because everybody has a +1 spat, there is a chance for very high roll situations. So a lot of the people that have like many emblems, just note that everybody started with an emblem. Right, I still haven't made my second Sugarcraft emblem. Finally, I get a sword. It's stage 5, and I can finally use the spat that I got given at the first round in order to make a Sugarcraft emblem. Excuse me. So that's great. We're finally gonna hit it. I'm very happy. Excuse me. I didn't make one thing I did. It's a mistake. Big mistake is I didn't use my remover on the Gwen. I wanted to put the spark on Gwen. Remember I was talking about that. The spark's really good on Gwen. Me not putting the spark on the Gwen now put me in an awkward spot here where I have to keep these Gwen items on the Gwen. So, you know, it is what it is. We're paired on Gwen, we're paired on Fiora, but I'm at 10 gold here. I should probably roll for Gwen and Fiora upgrades. Like I said, we don't want to accidentally lose any of these rounds because then it just hurts our chances of playing for a first or playing for the max cash out. One thing I will like to note though is that even in this lobby where, like, you know, I think this is one of the best spots I had for Sugarcraft. Also, this guy, I think he has the hunting execute and all my board just fucking died. If you look at the spot and you look at my board from where I started, how much I've been cashing out, when my cash outs were, obviously some things are low roll. I don't have Gwen 2, I don't have Fiora 2 at stage 5. I didn't have the extra Sugarcraft emblem for much of the game. I'm just trying to point out, I don't think Sugarcraft is any different than it used to be. I think that the changes they made to Sugarcraft, I'm going to say it, maybe it's a hot take, maybe it's not what you want to hear, maybe it is what you want to hear. This shit is still not very good. I apologize. The Gwen changes and the small Sugarcraft buff does nothing for the sake of this comp. I'm going to say it very, like, blatantly, because this spot, like, was very, very good early game into late game. Obviously now it's not that good anymore because obviously, like, I don't have Gwen 2 yet because I'm contested, but like I hit Gwen early. That's the biggest part about Sugarcraft, because, you know, it's not a matter of like, you can't just roll on stage 4 and just expect to hit a 2-star version of your unit. I'm pretty sure my placement in this game would have been just as good if I open forwarded and played towards Callista. Do you get what I'm trying to say? Like, Callista 1 Rakan 1 is still better than 6 Sugarcraft. I'm 90% sure, especially if you're uncontested. These units, everybody buys them for some reason because everybody's either going to try and play 4 warrior, people are going to try and play 6 warrior, or people are going to try and play like Preserver Karma with Gwen Fiora just randomly in there as well sometimes. So I find that most of the time you have a really, really hard time hitting the unit at all, right? And this was a game where I hit her very early. I finally have Gwen 2 now, so it's going to be a top 4, right? This is going to be a top 4 for sure. It might be better than a top 4, who knows? I should put Spark on Gwen now. I got the Golden Remover cash out, so I definitely should be putting Spark on Gwen, Nashers on Bard, and then rearrange my items otherwise. But what I'm trying to say is that, you know, comparatively, like, look at this other guy. He's level 9. He took Rating Gold in Eldritch. He was a little bit high roll because he was very strong in the mid game. But I'm struggling to beat this guy. I might not even win this fight. We'll see. Maybe I should win this fight. Hopefully. I think that my Gwen killed enough. We'll see how it goes. Actually, no. She's going to walk up. Ooh, that's not good. Come on, Gwen. Come on, Gwen. Nice. We win this fight. But just narrowly, right? We're not breaking any... It's not broken. It's not very strong. I would not take Sugarcraft if you don't have an insanely good spot for it. Now, obviously, I could have had a better... I think there was maybe one turn that while I was doing the description, I didn't have an item in, right? There's like some small optimizations. I'm sure you can skim through it and find where I made my mistakes and point them out to me. I don't care. That's not the point of this video. The point of this video was to say, hey, I played this Sugarcraft to try it out. I got myself into a pretty good spot with Sugarcraft. And then, you know, I didn't necessarily hit everything perfectly, which is expected. That's like a normal thing. But it was very high roll in the early part, and the cash outs still aren't warranting this being super broken. The biggest problem with Sugarcraft, and this is something I'll talk about in general, is the time of the lobby, the timing of the lobby. If you look at this video, I cut off a round, yes, like I cut off a little bit of the round, but this is not very good. How do I phrase it? In the meta, you want the boards to take a long time. You want to make it to stage 6. You want to make it to late stage 6. You can get these cash outs. Right now, the lobby tempo is very fast. There's rerolls that people are starting to figure out. They're playing more and more rerolls. There's boards that get really, really high damage really, really fast. So something like Varus, something like Callista. These boards that become very, very strong at a very, very low level or with a low amount of gold investment. And what ends up happening a lot of times is that you don't make it to the Sugarcraft cash out, no matter how good your spot is, unless you have like the fucking giga spot of Doom where you hit like literally everything. Like there's certain tech, like for example, you can play Trait Tracker, and if you have Trait Tracker and you get a Sugarcraft emblem, then you're instantly 6 Sugarcraft because you get all the extra emblems that then with 6 Sugarcraft cashes you out like really, really heavily, or really, really fast paced. But it's like, you know what I mean? Like besides like an Exodia situation, this was like, you know, an above average luck. That's what I would call this game. And I'm struggling to get a top 4. Now obviously some of the boards are really insane, like this guy's board for example, Trait Tracker with Callista, but it's on the backbones of Callista being broken, right? Like, I'm pretty sure if I just played Callista this lobby, I probably would have placed just as high as if I played this Sugarcraft board, right? And that's what I'm trying to say. And a lot of it is because you just don't reach it to the cash outs, right? If right now I was 1 turn ahead or 2 turns ahead on my cash outs, I would probably make it to the Masterworks upgrade and then just instantly top 4 here. As you can see, look, there's 3 people that are close to going bot 4. I get a cash out. This is the golden dupe cash out. So now I have Morgana 2 for free, which is great. Also, I know I messed up. I should be putting Spark on Gwen and Nashor's on the other dude. So that's my bad. I get another item for Fiora now. I can put these on the Morgana, and then I can switch around all my items. I should do that. Obviously, that's my mistake. Whoopsie. But what I'm trying to say is that, like, I'm not even close to getting the Radiant item. And even if I get the Radiant item, like, it's not a guaranteed first. It's like usually you get a first, but it's like it's not guaranteed by any means. It's probably just Guard Breaker. I'm down for anything. Sterix is also fine. Another Morello, sure. Oh, I just reforge it. Yeah, Crown Guard's good. Crown Guard Morgana. Duplicate the Morgana. Get these off. I can't go for a 3-star 4 cost. I just don't have enough HP to work with here. We put Morgana. Now I put the Spark on Gwen. This is what I wanted to do ahead of time. I just messed up the other turns. And everything's good. And then I'll just put that on somebody else. And then I can put the Warmogs. I could buy a Charm so that I'm good to go. I should make Warmogs here. I have a belt on bench. And then that should be everything. Now, obviously, this guy has 2 Eldritch Emblems. He actually has 3 Eldritch Emblems, but he's not able to make it to level 10, so we don't have to worry about 10 Eldritch anytime soon. I should be stronger than this guy now, right? I remember it was a hot point of contention where I was like, I don't know if I beat this guy. He does not have enough damage to deal with me. Doesn't have anybody else upgraded. His front line's not that great. We should be able to beat him. It's also a clone. And we're in our spot to get 4th. I think we're going to get guaranteed 3rd here. Just because of the way that the matchmaking RNG worked out. If we fought somebody that was stronger than us, we would have gone 4th most likely. But the last 2 people are way stronger than us. And like I said before, the pace of the lobby is the biggest killer here. I was 6 Sugarcraft pretty early. I was 4 Sugarcraft for most of the game. Obviously, there could be more components that would cash me out faster. But that's very hard to tell, especially early game, unless you start with a bunch of components and you have 4 Sugarcraft and you have an Exodia spot. You can see I don't make it to the Radiant item, right? Now I'm fighting somebody that's stronger than me. I don't make it to the cash out that's going to win me the game. And I very closely got a 5th here. And I feel like the spot was really good because I got 3 items on Gwen. My augments aren't the greatest because the last augment where I have the rod is kind of useless. So I am down basically a gold augment. But I'm just trying to put it into perspective here. Right? Okay, I beat this guy. That's fine. But I don't beat the other guy for sure. The other guy with the Callista board. I'm just going to get my Gwen stuck on Rakan and she's never going to get there. As you can see, I have 1 turn. Now, maybe this is the part where optimization might have made a difference, by the way. There's a chance that if I had the Radiant item here, I would win against the next guy and go, like, first, maybe. But that's what I'm trying to say. This spot was very good, and I made maybe, like, I would say 5 mistakes. If we go back through the VOD and I count every single time I didn't have components properly placed or I didn't cash out certain amounts of things, right? Because 60 isn't that much, right? There's a chance that I hit the next cash out and I got my Radiant item and then I can Radiant Spark the Gwen and it would just be insanely strong. But you'll see that, like, I'm getting rinsed here. So, you know, the Callista is just too much damage. The Rakan's not dying. Callista 2, multiple spats. Like, you know, the Radiant item would have helped here, but it wasn't enough to make me, like, win out, I would say. But we just get a 3rd. It ends up being a 3rd. But this is what I say. This feels the same as Sugarcraft last set. Maybe a little bit more stable. Or sorry, last patch. Maybe a little bit more stable. But not by any means. Not like broken or hard forceable. And that's what I would like to point out. Right? It feels very similar to how it was last time. It doesn't seem all that changed. Make sure you only take it if you have a really, really good spot. Obviously, my spot was really good. I maybe could have optimized a little bit better. If I made it to that next cash out, I would have easily beaten... I think I would have easily gotten 2nd place at minimum. if I had the Radiant item, but I definitely wasn't making it to the final cash out. And a lot of that is because of how fast paced the lobbies are, either by reroll or playing really stable boards. If there were Varus players in this lobby, by the way, there is no Varus player, right? There's another guy that contested Callista and he went 7th, right? You can see it over there, but there's not really like a strong Varus player or Blaster player. If they played like those comps that are more meta, the Varus player would have easily deleted my board every single time, and I would have definitely gone bot 4. It's just because in this lobby, there was no Varus player, I was able to squeak by to get a 3rd. There was a lot of boards that were suboptimal, like they're like more creative. So for example, the Soraka reroll guy trying out with mages, that board's a fucking joke, right? I wouldn't recommend trying that out until maybe somebody figures out like the niche line that makes it work out. But that's what I'm trying to explain. This was a lobby where there weren't that many strong boards. The fights lasted a while. We made it to stage 6. A lot of times the game is over before stage 6. I had a really strong spot. I had a Gwen early as fuck. Like I had a Gwen on stage 2 even, right? Sorry, stage 3. I had a Gwen. 4 Sugarcraft all of stage 3 into stage 4. 6 Sugarcraft as soon as stage 4 started. And it was still like not even close probably. Right? Like comparatively to like, you know, if I just played Varus probably I would have been as strong. That's what I want to point out. So try it. It's playable, right? It's definitely playable, but play it when you have a good spot for it. Do not just take Sugarcraft. Do not just play towards Sugarcraft without actually doing it. And that was the point of this video, because I wanted to try it out because people were really trying to figure out, hey, you know, they buff Sugarcraft, they buff Gwen, is it going to be broken because it's all on the backbones of Gwen being broken? And the answer is, I think it's around the same as last time. If you have a really good spot for it, go for it. If you don't have a good spot for it, hell fucking no. Okay, see you later. Bye bye.